The camp at Beechey Island was 300 miles into the Arctic ice, and was proof at least that Franklin and his men had survived their first taste of the most inhospitable terrain on Earth. As the dark of Arctic winter set in, the expedition must have sought the shelter of Beechey Island. There, they were perfectly equipped to spend their first winter frozen in the ice. They had a library of 3,000 books, heated cabins, even provisions supplied by Fortnum and Mason.
They were clutching their civilization closely around them, and they thought it made them safe. They thought that was all they would need.
It was a whole mentality, a siege mentality. The ship was there to keep out all the elements, and as long as that ship maintained itself, as long as they cut off the outside world, they would be absolutely fine.
But for such a well-equipped expedition, the evidence at Beechey was also troubling. Why did 3 young sailors die so soon after leaving England? And why, beside the graves, were hundreds of empty tin food cans piled into a tower, with no message or explanation?
It was strict naval protocol to leave a written document of some kind at every location, but no matter where they looked here on Beechey, there was nothing. They found other signs, though, that may point to a hasty departure. There was a pair of cashmere gloves left drying on a rock, bits and pieces of things as if people had left in a hurry. But the only sign was a boarding pike, been left on the beach with a pointing hand painted on a board nailed to it. Where it pointed, nobody was quite sure.
After the discovery of Franklin's winter camp, the trail of the missing expedition went cold, until the next clue was discovered in 1859, 14 years after the expedition disappeared. It was found 350 miles south of the winter camp at Beechey, on the northern tip of King William Island. Pulled from a tower of stones, it was an expedition log sealed inside a metal canister.
The evidence we have is a small record, piece of Admiralty paper, in a metal cylinder inside a cairn. It began with the standard Admiralty form, the message, "All well, Sir John Franklin commanding."
The expedition log reported that, in the autumn of 1846, just months after leaving Beechey Island, the ships were trapped in ice.
But around that message in the margins was written a second, far more disturbing message.
Scribbled in the margin 2 years later, this message said the ships were still trapped, and now they were being deserted. It was the only piece of written evidence ever found, and it provided vital clues. First, it revealed where Franklin's ship sailed from Beechey. Just as he was instructed, Franklin sailed south towards an area uncharted on his map, and from there, down an unmarked channel known today as Peel Sound.
Now, Peel Sound heads straight south. To Franklin, that would have been a very, very tempting route to take, particularly if it was open, free of ice. And Peel Sound, we know today, is very, very changeable from year to year. One year it can be completely wide open, another year it can be choked up with ice so that it's impassable even by modern ships.
But if this channel was a tempting route, it was also a dangerous one. No previous expedition had ever reported Peel Sound to be navigable.
How is the current? Anything from Ross? Anything in Parry?
Franklin had already broken naval protocol by failing to leave a note at Beechey Island. Now, he was ordering his ships down a channel the Admiralty assumed was impassable. On HMS Terror, his second-in-command, Francis Crozier, must have mulled the letter he'd written from Greenland.
Franklin is very decided in his own views, but has not got good judgment. I fear we will blunder into the ice.
In the summer of 1846, Franklin led his ships into Peel Sound.
And may God protect us.
At first, it seemed they made good progress, traveling 300 miles south to where the expedition log was found. But there, at the bottom of Peel Sound, the ice closed in. In the log, it documented the nightmare that then unfolded. They were trapped in the ice at the same position, not just for the winter of 1846, but all through the spring and summer of 1847, waiting in vain for the ice to break up.
The nightmare scenario is that I'm never going to get out of this ice. I'm facing another long winter. It's going to get dark. It's going to get very cold. And here I am out on the ice that's still moving around. I don't know where this ice is carrying me.
Something terrifying was unfolding that summer. Something that undermined every aspect of their plan. The ice wasn't melting. And just as the men began to realize their predicament, something else happened. The expedition log contained a second devastating message. Sir John Franklin died on the 11th of June, 1847. The total loss by death in the expedition has been to this date 9 officers and 15 men.
They that go down to the sea in ships, that do business in great waters, these see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep. For he commandeth and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. They mount up to the heaven, they go down again to the depths. Their soul melteth away because of trouble. They reel to and fro, and stagger like a drunken man.
It's clear from everything we know he was a beloved commander.
Then they cry,
He'd been in the Arctic before and only one other officer had.
and he bringeth them out.
I think that his presence was a tremendous reassurance to everyone there, and his loss would have been a terrific blow.
So that the waves thereof are still. Then are they glad, because they are quiet. So he bringeth them unto the haven where they would be.
In the year Franklin died, his wife, Lady Jane, felt a strange sense of foreboding. Unaware that she was already a widow, she wrote a series of letters to her missing husband.
I desire nothing but to cherish the remainder of your days, however injured and broken your health may be. I live in you, my dearest.
Franklin and 23 of his men died just 2 years into one of the best supplied expeditions in Arctic history. But why was one of the biggest mysteries of all.
We don't know what it was that was killing them. It's a huge loss, unparalleled in any other expedition of this kind. Terrific casualties, and yet the note doesn't tell us what was killing them.
The first clue to what might be causing the deaths wasn't discovered until 1984, when the Canadian government gave permission for a team of forensic scientists to exhume the graves of the 3 sailors buried at Beechey Island.
At Beechey Island, you have the remains of 3 members of the expedition, and almost certainly preserved remains, so that this opens the possibility of understanding the medical reasons behind the disaster.